Very good evening. I'm Aishwarya Kapoor with you. Welcome to News Tonight on Rajasabha television, where you get a complete roundup of the day's top stories from India and across the world. The top story: Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Thursday launched the Transparent Taxation, honoring the honest platform to honor honest taxpayers. Calling it a significant tax reform, Prime Minister Modi said it will be a new milestone in the structural changes initiated by the government. Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu also praised the tax reform measure, stating that the need of the hour is to make the taxation system painless, seamless and faceless.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Thursday launched the platform for transparent taxation, honouring the honest. Describing the changes it will bring, Prime Minister Modi said, the honest taxpayer can now be assured of a fair, courteous and rational behaviour, and that the Income Tax Department will take care of their dignity sensitively.
बीते 6 वर्ष में हमारा फोकस रहा है बैंकिंग द अनबैंक्ड, सिक्योरिंग द अनसिक्योर्ड और फंडिंग द अनफंडेड। आज एक तरह से एक नई यात्रा शुरू हो रही है। ऑनरिंग द ऑनेस्ट, ईमानदार का सम्मान। देश का ईमानदार टैक्सपेयर राष्ट्र निर्माण में बहुत बड़ी भूमिका निभाता है। जब देश के ईमानदार टैक्सपेयर का जीवन आसान बनता है, वो आगे बढ़ता है, तो देश का भी विकास होता है, देश भी आगे बढ़ता है।
Prime Minister Modi said the taxpayers will now be given the respect that they deserve. The taxpayer will not only be trusted but also not looked at with doubt or suspicion. The tax department will have to carry out the steps and processes in a time-bound manner.
पहला, पॉलिसी ड्रिवन गवर्नेंस। जब पॉलिसी स्पष्ट होती है तो ग्रे एरियाज मिनिमम हो जाते हैं और इस कारण व्यापार में, बिजनेस में और सरकार के और निर्णयों में भी डिस्क्रिशन की गुंजाइश कम हो जाती है। दूसरा, सामान्य जन की ईमानदारी पर विश्वास। तीसरा, सरकारी सिस्टम में ह्यूमन इंटरफेस को सीमित करके टेक्नोलॉजी का बड़े स्तर पर उपयोग। आज सरकारी खरीद हो, सरकारी टेंडर हो या सरकारी सेवाओं की डिलीवरी, सब जगह टैग इंटरफेस सर्विस दे रहे हैं। और चौथा, हमारी जो सरकारी मशीनरी है, जो ब्यूरोक्रेसी है, उसमें एफिशिएंसी, इंटीग्रिटी और सेंसिटिविटी के गुणों को रिवॉर्ड किया जा रहा है, पुरस्कृत किया जा रहा है।
The Prime Minister also asserted that every taxpayer should think of their contribution, and those who are not in the tax net must ask their conscience and see if they should also pay taxes. The Prime Minister also reiterated that the number of taxpayers in the country is a very small percentage of the total population, which necessitated fundamental reforms in the Indian tax system.
Seamless यानी टैक्स एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन हर टैक्स पेयर को उलझाने के बजाय समस्या को सुलझाने के लिए काम करे। पेनलेस यानी टेक्नोलॉजी से लेकर रूल्स तक सब कुछ सिंपल हो। फेसलेस यानी टैक्स पेयर कौन है और टैक्स ऑफिसर कौन है, इससे मतलब ही नहीं होना चाहिए। आज से लागू होने वाले ये रिफॉर्म्स इसी सोच को आगे बढ़ाने वाले हैं।
The Union Budget announced the Taxpayers Charter for fiscal year 2020-21. The facility is likely to empower citizens by ensuring time-bound services by the Income Tax Department. With the launch of the platform, the government has taken yet another step to make the lives of taxpayers easier. Over the years, the Income Tax Department has carried out several major reforms, including reducing corporate tax. The department also abolished the dividend tax, while focusing on simplification of direct tax laws and increasing transparency in communication. Kriti Mishra, Rajasabha TV.
So the government on Thursday unveiled a charter for the taxpayers and faceless tax assessment. Calling it a landmark day in the history of tax administration in the country, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman said the move will ease compliance burden for assessees and reward honest taxpayers.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi launched the Transparent Taxation Honouring the Honest platform through video conferencing on Thursday. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman described it as a step towards increasing fairness and objectivity in the tax system. She said the faceless tax scrutiny assessment and appeal will help ease compliance burden of taxpayers.
What does this mean to the taxpayer in the country? It eases compliance burden. It brings in fair, objective and a just system. There shall not be any physical interface between the department and the taxpayer, and to an extent, it shall bring in certainty of information.
Sitharaman also said that to realize the grand vision, the Central Board of Direct Taxes has put in place a platform that is transparent, efficient and accountable.
The vision of the Prime Minister is to empower the taxpayers, to provide a transparent system and to honour the honest taxpayer. To realize this vision, the CBDT, the Central Board for Direct Taxation, has given a framework and put in place a system in the form of this platform. A transparent, efficient, and accountable tax administration is what this platform brings in.
The Finance Minister reiterated measures that the government has taken in recent years to simplify the country's tax system and ease compliance burden for assessees. Kriti Mishra, Rajya Sabha TV.
On to some other news, the fourth year in office of Rajya Sabha Chairman M. Venkaiah Naidu got off to a clean slate, with Rajya Sabha Secretariat clearing 4,406 files under a clearance drive. Before his fourth year as chairman of Rajya Sabha commenced, Naidu in the first week of this month directed that no file should be pending after August 10th. The Secretariat took up an 8-day-long special drive to do so. About 60 sections of the Secretariat sat till late in the evening, including on Saturday and Sunday, to finish the mission by midnight on the 10th of August. As desired, details of files cleared and issues addressed was put up for Vice President Venkaiah Naidu's perusal before a publication on his 3 years in office was released on August 11th. Some files pending since 2007 and others, mostly on account of reduced attendance over the last 3 months, were taken to their logical conclusion during this special drive. All the papers, issues, references received till late evening on August 9th were addressed. More news from Parliament, and the Parliamentary Standing Committee on Railways met on Thursday. During the meeting, Railway Board Chairman V.K. Yadav made a presentation on the expansion of the rail network in India. The Indian Railways currently has a route length of over 68,000 kilometers, making it the fourth largest railway network in the world by size. The Standing Committee is headed by BJP MP Radha Mohan Singh. 13 MPs were present at the meeting, including new member Narhari Amin. And nominations for bypolls to a Rajya Sabha seat, each in Uttar Pradesh and Kerala, closed on Thursday. BJP candidate Jai Prakash Nishad filed his nomination for the Uttar Pradesh seat on Thursday. For the Rajya Sabha seat in Kerala, Loktantrik Janata Dal State President M.V. Shreyams Kumar filed nomination as the LDF candidate. Nominations will be scrutinized on 14th of August, while 17th of August is the last date for withdrawal of candidature. Voting and counting of votes will be held on 24th of August. One seat each in Uttar Pradesh and Kerala fell vacant after the death of members Beni Prasad Verma and MP Virendra Kumar. And now an update on the coronavirus situation in our country, and India's total COVID-19 tally is now nearing 24 lakh with over 60,000 new cases being reported on Thursday. With the world's biggest caseload behind the United States and Brazil, India is reporting a jump of 50,000 cases or more each day for the last 15 days in a row. But encouraging is the fact that the recovery rate is over 70%.
An increase of 67,000 cases in the last 24 hours has pushed India's COVID-19 infections to close to 24 lakh, which is the biggest single-day spike in the country. However, the recovery rate has gone up to 70.76%, with nearly 17 lakh people having recovered. Over 6,53,000 cases are active currently. 942 deaths have been reported in the last 24 hours. The country's death count has now gone up to 47,033. Over 2 crore 68 lakh samples have been tested so far, including over 8,30,000 samples on Wednesday, the highest so far in a single day. Maharashtra, Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Uttar Pradesh are the 5 states that reported the highest number of cases in the last 24 hours. These states are the worst affected. In the northeast, Assam saw the highest single-day spike in the number of cases, with 4,593 fresh COVID-19 cases on Wednesday. The state has reported over 69,000 cases so far. Despite a decline in national average growth rate, Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, West Bengal and Assam have seen a rise in coronavirus numbers by several times since July. These states are the biggest contributors to the daily numbers apart from Maharashtra, Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka and Tamil Nadu. While Uttar Pradesh and West Bengal recorded over 2,200 deaths till now, Bihar has recorded just 416 deaths till now, while in Assam the number of deaths is 161. India has the world's third highest caseload after the United States and Brazil and is still reporting a high test positivity rate of 9%. Much higher than the WHO approved figure of 5%. In terms of deaths, India has the 4th highest death count in the world after the United States, Brazil and Mexico. Bureau Report, Rajasabha TV.
Update on the race for coronavirus vaccine, and Russia says that it will be releasing the first batch of its COVID-19 vaccine within 2 weeks for medical workers.
The Russian government has also rejected safety concerns raised by some experts over Moscow's rapid approval of the vaccine. The vaccine Sputnik V is yet to complete final trials.
Nas futuras conversas agora, em breve, com as equipes da Rússia, nós vamos ver o atual estágio de validação de testes dessa vacina, as reais comprovações de fase 1, fase 2, possivelmente a fase 3 ainda está ocorrendo na Rússia, com essa previsão de vacinação em outubro. Então, com essa documentação toda, nós vamos elaborar.
Brazil is one country that has agreed to produce Russia's newly approved COVID-19 vaccine. Brazilian state of Paraná has signed a memorandum of understanding with Moscow in this regard. Under the deal, Brazil will produce and distribute the vaccine in Brazil and other Latin American countries. In another development, Argentina and Mexico agreed to co-produce around 150 million doses of the Oxford coronavirus vaccine. The vaccine will cost between $3 to $4 per dose. Oxford AstraZeneca candidate is among the frontrunners in the global race to deliver an effective vaccine for COVID-19.
And the global coronavirus infections have crossed 20.8 million and claimed over 7.5 lakh lives so far.
The United States remains the worst affected country with over 5.3 million cases and nearly 1.7 lakh deaths. Brazil reported 55,155 new cases on Wednesday, raising its tally to over 3.16 million. Sao Paulo, which is Brazil's worst affected region, reported over 6.55 lakh infections. Governor João Doria has tested positive for the novel coronavirus. Argentina's COVID-19 cases continued to spike despite a strict lockdown. It has reported over 2.6 lakh infections, surpassing the total caseload in Italy. Spain registered more than 500 coronavirus outbreaks in recent weeks. Several new outbreaks are linked to nursing homes across the country. Nearly 1,000 daily cases brought its tally to over 3.76 lakh. The Paris Marathon has been cancelled following the resurgence of COVID-19 cases in France. The marathon was originally due to take place on April 5th, but was postponed to November 15th due to the pandemic. France has reported over 2.36 lakh infections and 30,000 deaths so far. Norway is reimposing quarantine on more travellers from foreign countries following an infection spike. It will now reimpose 10-day quarantine from Saturday for all travellers from Poland, Malta, Iceland, Cyprus and the Netherlands, among others. Australia's Victoria state showed a decline in COVID-19 cases on Thursday. It had 278 new infections and 8 new deaths. New Zealand reported 13 new coronavirus cases on Thursday after a fresh outbreak was reported in the region. However, Prime Minister Ardern said it was a positive sign that all the new cases were linked to one infected family. Meanwhile, the United Nations has called for international cooperation to overcome the COVID-19 pandemic.
And now an update on Pranab Mukherjee's health, and the former president continues to be on a ventilator support.
Doctors attending to him at the Army's Research and Referral Hospital in New Delhi said on Thursday that his condition remains unchanged and he has stable vital parameters. The former president was hospitalized on August 10th and was operated upon for removal of a clot in the brain. He also tested positive for COVID-19. In a Twitter message, his son Abhijit Mukherjee said his father is slowly responding to medical interventions. He also refuted rumors on social media about his father, terming them as fake news. His daughter and Congress leader Sharmishta Mukherjee also dismissed the rumors.
News from different states, and the one-day monsoon session of the Nagaland Legislative Assembly was adjourned sine die on Thursday.
The session was held in order to fulfill the constitutional requirement of holding a session within a 6-month period. The House commenced without the participation of the opposition Naga People's Front. The opposition had boycotted the session, alleging that it has been convened for mere fulfillment of constitutional obligation. The House passed the Nagaland Goods and Services Tax Amendment Bill 2020 by voice vote. The bill had been moved by Chief Minister Neiphiu Rio. The House also mourned the deaths of 4 former legislators by observing a 2-minute silence. The session was held with all social distancing norms in place.
Update on the flood situation across different states, and the death toll in the landslide in Kerala's Idukki district has risen to 55, while the flood situation worsened in Bihar even as it improved slightly in Assam.
In Idukki, search operations led by the National Disaster Response Force continue to trace 15 people that are still missing. 82 people were affected by the landslide that occurred on August 7th. Meanwhile, in Bihar, the flood situation worsened on Wednesday as the total number of people affected rose to over 77 lakh in 16 districts. The number of people who have died in flood-related incidents in the state is 24. 5.47 lakh people have been evacuated from inundated areas so far. Several rivers are flowing above the danger level at several places in the state. 16 districts of Uttar Pradesh are also affected by floods. Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath has directed officials to ensure sanitation and hygiene in relief camps that have been set up. In Assam, Dhemaji, Baksa and Moregaon districts remain submerged even as floodwaters receded from most parts of the state. At present, 14,205 people are affected by the floods. At least 136 people have died in flood-related incidents. In Uttarakhand, normal life has been disrupted due to incessant rains in several parts of the state during the last 24 hours. Many roads were blocked due to landslides, while many link roads have been disrupted. Heavy to very heavy rainfall is predicted for the next 24 hours. Heavy rains lashed several parts of the country, including Delhi, leading to waterlogging and around 40 areas being inundated in the national capital. Light rainfall will continue over the next 2 to 3 days over the city. Rain and thunder showers are also likely to occur over Haryana and Punjab in the next 2 days. The Meteorological Department has issued an orange alert with a forecast of very heavy rainfall in 8 districts of Madhya Pradesh till Friday morning. There is also likelihood of heavy to very heavy rains over Mumbai and neighbouring Thane, Palghar and Raigad districts in the next 24 hours. The department has predicted more showers in the Konkan and Ghat region and some areas of central Maharashtra.
News from Rajasthan. After a month of speculation over the future of the Congress government in Rajasthan, intervention of the top leadership seems to have quelled the rebellion within the party for now. Sachin Pilot returned to Jaipur on Tuesday, ending his month-long revolt. At the Congress Legislature Party meeting in Jaipur, Pilot and Chief Minister Ashok Gehlot were seen shaking hands. Although the party had announced the end to month-long crisis 3 days ago, Gehlot and Pilot had not met face-to-face. Pilot had openly rebelled against Gehlot last month along with 18 other Congress MLAs. He was then sacked as Deputy Chief Minister and Rajasthan Chief of the Congress. Meanwhile, the Bharatiya Janata Party announced that it will move a no-confidence motion against the Ashok Gehlot government at the Special Assembly session starting tomorrow. The announcement came following a meeting by Vasundhara Raje and other top Rajasthan BJP leaders on Thursday to plan for the session. In another development, the Supreme Court said that the 6 MLAs who shifted from Mayawati's party to the Congress will be able to vote during the trust vote of the Gehlot government. While refusing a temporary freeze on the merger on a petition, the Supreme Court left the decision to a single judge in Rajasthan, which is hearing the matter. News from Kerala. And a court in Kochi on Thursday dismissed the bail plea of the key accused in the Kerala gold smuggling case, Swapna Suresh, and her co-accused Syed Alawi.
The court said their instant release will hamper the successful progress of investigation by the Customs Preventive Commissionerate. Dismissing the bail applications of Suresh and Syed Alawi, Additional Chief Judicial Magistrate Economic Offences said the court found great force in the submission of the Customs Department that the petitioners are likely to tamper with evidence and help the absconding accused in the event of being granted bail. The court said that Swapna Suresh, who is the third accused in the state, is an extremely influential lady, and even after her resignation from the consulate, she continued to help the top officials of the UAE consulate in Thiruvananthapuram. In her petitions, Suresh and Alawi had said their detention was no longer required since the major part of the probe was complete.
And retail inflation for July came in at 6.93% as against 3.15% in the year-ago period. The consumer price index-based inflation rate for June has been revised from 6.09% to 6.23%. The combined food price inflation for July stood at 9.62%. against 8.72% a month ago. In the fuel and light segment, inflation for the same month was 2.8% against 2.69% in June. The centre did not release the consumer price index data for April and May due to insufficient data collection amid the coronavirus pandemic and the induced lockdown. The Supreme Court on Thursday allowed former Union Minister Arun Shourie, veteran journalist N. Ram and activist lawyer Prashant Bhushan to withdraw their plea challenging the constitutional validity of a legal provision dealing with criminal contempt.
A bench headed by Justice Arun Mishra was informed by senior advocate Rajiv Dhawan, representing the petitioners, that they want to withdraw the plea as several petitions on the same issue are pending before the Apex Court and they do not want these to be entangled with them. The bench allowed the petition to be withdrawn with liberty to the petitioners to approach the appropriate judicial forum except the Apex Court. The petitioners had challenged the constitutional validity of a legal provision dealing with criminal contempt for scandalizing the court, saying it was violative of freedom of speech and right to equality.
The Supreme Court allowed the registration of those BS4 vehicles that were sold before the nationwide lockdown, but for whom the registration process could not be completed.
The court had on July 8th recalled its March 27th order by which it had allowed sale of BS4 vehicles for 10 days across India, except in Delhi NCR after lifting of the COVID-19 lockdown. The ruling applies to vehicles whose details were uploaded on the government's Vahan portal. This effectively includes only those BS4 vehicles which were sold in India before 25th March, that is when the nationwide lockdown came into effect. As a result, around 39,000 BS4 vehicles sold after that will not be eligible for registration. The bench also asked the Automobile Dealers Association to place before it the details of vehicles sold either online or through direct sale during the lockdown period in the last week of March.
And the Road Transport and Highways Ministry has allowed registration of electric vehicles without pre-fitted batteries.
In a letter to transport secretaries of all states and union territories, the ministry has clarified that e-vehicles without batteries can be sold and registered based on the type approval certificate issued by the test agency. It said there is no need to specify the make, type or any other details of the battery for the purpose of registration. Delinking the cost of the battery will bring down the total price of electric vehicles by 30 to 40%. The centre took this decision to create an ecosystem to accelerate the uptake of electric mobility in the country. The ministry said it is time to come together to work jointly to achieve the broader national agenda to reduce vehicular pollution and oil import bill.
And a full dress rehearsal of the 74th Independence Day celebrations was held at Red Fort on Thursday.
Personnel from the Army, Navy and Air Force marched across the fort during the rehearsal that took place between 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Amid stringent security arrangements and traffic restrictions, the Red Fort has been closed for public ahead of the Independence Day celebrations on Saturday. Around 4,000 security personnel will be deployed to mark the 74th Independence Day celebrations on 15th August. Over 350 Delhi police personnel who will be part of the Guard of Honour have been quarantined as a precautionary measure.
The top international news, the Donald Trump administration has announced exemptions in H1B and L1 travel ban for those continuing employment with the same employer. The move is expected to help Indian IT professionals and those working in the healthcare sector.
The exemptions to the June 22 Presidential Proclamation 10052, commonly referred to as the H1B or L1 travel ban, also includes family members of the H1B, L1 and certain categories of J1 visas. In its revised advisory issued on Wednesday, the U.S. State Department said the H1B and L1 visas can now be issued for employees who are seeking to resume ongoing employment in the United States in the same position with the same employer and visa classification. It added that the exemptions have been given under the national interest category. Further, new guidelines have also been set for the issue of H1B visas when at least 2 of the 5 indicators are met. President Donald Trump, in his June proclamation, banned the entry into the U.S. of workers in several key non-immigrant visa categories, including the H1B, arguing that they eat into American jobs during the COVID-19 pandemic. The H1B visa is a non-immigrant visa that allows U.S. companies to employ foreign workers in occupations that require theoretical or technical expertise.
And that's it from me and the entire team of News Tonight at the moment. We'll see you tomorrow at the same time with all the day's biggest news stories. See you then. Bye for now.